Now, there's a new reality show it's going on the screens tonight on Channel 4, and they are looking to find an alternative Prime Minister. Have a look at this. Oh, brutal. So that's Make Me a Prime Minister. Starts tonight at 9:15 on Channel 4. And that got us thinking this morning, saying, actually, would that be quite a good way to choose a Prime Minister, Janet? You know, put them up there and give them tests. Say, come on then, show us policies.
Well, something's got to be better than the present system where we've ended up with a Prime Minister chosen by about 160,000 people who are members of the Conservative Party. And in the last election, when you look at the last general election, the way that votes were cast, there's not a huge amount of difference in the votes cast for the Labour Party versus the Tory Party. And the truth is now that there's a large part of Labour and a large part of the Tories that actually agree.
Kind of meeting in the middle.
There's a lot. If you went around the country and you said to people, what would you vote for? Actually, there's not a lot of difference. There's a lot of consensus. A lot of people agree about a kind of middle ground. So if that's the case, I can't see why we're choosing prime ministers, but with a minority of a minority, if you see what I mean. So we've ended up with Liz Truss, which I have no particular opinion about, although if she was a car, you'd be sending her back for an MOT or a... So you'd be asking, was there a factory defect? Or perhaps not.
But the thing is, it's because we don't maybe know much about Liz Truss. You were saying this morning, I didn't really know much about her.
I've never even heard about her until all of a sudden.
So then that brings me back to that. If there was this kind of reality star, would you like to know more about a person who's putting themselves forward to be the Prime Minister? Do you want to know more about them as a person, not just their politics and their policies?
When we first started talking about this morning, my instant reaction was, no, that's a joke. I mean, that's like a joke. And it'd be like finding you may as well put them on Love Island and find which one, you know what I mean? And I would be basing it on what they look like. Yeah. Oh, he's fit, I'll have him as Prime Minister, you know.
But mind you, when Rishi Sunak came out with the meal deals and 2 for 1, it was dishy-rishy in all the headlines. He was the pin-up boy. There was all the photos of him in his hoodie and his, you know, designer sweatshirts and all of that. And then suddenly the gloss seemed to go right off Rishi, didn't it? And
but what I was going to say was today I thought, no, that's a stupid idea. But actually, when you were talking about it then, I thought, I suppose it would be a good way of seeing they're given tasks, how you deal with it, and if they don't deal with it the way you want them to, you think, well, he'd be rubbish Prime Minister. Or
some of the tasks they've given the people on that show is come up with a new education curriculum. Wow, that's a big brief, isn't it?
Yeah, I could do that.
You could. She
would be a brilliant Prime Minister.
She's scary.
Only if everyone agreed with her.
Yeah.
Launch a healthy eating policy.
Yeah, no problem doing that.
Make decisions in a Cobra meeting during a security crisis.
No.
Tough.
No
Tough. And defend your policies to a room of journalists. Imagine defending to Janet.
Well, having been a journalist and still being a journalist, I know all the tactics. Yeah. But I think it's a good idea because I often think that we end up with people in Parliament who've had, as someone said in that clip earlier, they come from a very narrow pool of talent, don't they? They've all been to the same universities, they've all been to the same kinds of schools, and they don't represent the cross-section that's Britain's today. And Britain's changed so radically. Even the years since Tony Blair got voted in 1997, we live in a multicultural society. People are more tolerant. They've got, you know, and we want to see that reflected in government. And I just feel sometimes I look at all these people, and there's a lot of people at the top of government today who were privately educated, studied law, went to Oxford or Cambridge or grammar school or a selective school, and I just would like to see a bigger mix at the top.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So, as I said, Janet for Prime Minister. Yeah.
In your dreams, Ruth.
No, I know.